Jams, jams, jams. Picture books and jams. Welcome, everybody, to PBJamz. Music and picture books, what a perfect sandwich. Squish them all together, what a yummy snack. PBJamz, yummy books and music.
Good morning or afternoon, evening, whenever it is you are joining us. You might recognize my friend Rekha Rajan. I think, gosh, let's see, this is 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe your sixth visit with me on PBJamz. Maybe it's been a lot. I know, I love it. So Rekha obviously has become a dear friend, and we've been sitting here chatting for a while, but we're inviting you into the conversation now, and we're here to talk about that swinging sound, which is her latest book. Look at that. And I gotta say, I am a huge fan of both Louis Armstrong and Ella Fitzgerald, and this book puts them both together. The artwork is absolutely stunning, Rake. It's so beautiful. It's a gorgeous book. And I can't think of two more amazing people to talk about than Lewis and Ella. So let's dig into this amazing and beautiful book. So to start off, can you talk to us about how you got the inspiration for this book and anything also that you want to tell us about kind of the journey of this book as well?
Yes, thank you, Tani. My dear friend, always a pleasure to chat with you. We could do like an 8-hour episode, but
No.
I have to give a shout out to Ken Daly. He is the glorious, glorious illustrator that I actually got to meet in Toronto. Absolutely brilliant, and so grateful to our editor because I didn't realize when I presented the book to her, and then she suggested him as the artist, that he actually has a whole studio of jazz artists that he sells. So if you talk about something being serendipitous, it was totally meant to be. And I also found out when I met him that he's a musician as well. So when you see the art in the book, yes, you can see that he understands movement and what that looks like. The idea for this book came to me almost 6 years ago. And I have always loved music. That's been my journey. Tani, you and I, that's why we are such good friends. And the way music is in us and around us and how we feel that, we teach it, we love it, we breathe it. And even though I'm classically trained as an opera singer, Ella and Louis's music were just so instrumental in helping me understand what it means to be a musician and develop musicianship. So you're not just performing a song, you're giving your own interpretation, all of those wonderful things. And when I first presented this story, my editor, who's also a musician, my agent, who's also a musician, Lily, she loved it. And she's like, Rekha, this song, it's singing to me, it's beautiful, all of these things. But the market, the publishing world at the time was like, we have enough stories about Ella Fitzgerald and we have enough stories about Louis Armstrong. And we don't really need this story. And I'm like, but it's not about their individual biographies. What I think we don't talk about as much as musicians and artists is how important collaboration is.
Yeah.
And how even though we might spend hours alone in a practice room perfecting our craft, music is probably, to me, the most social of all art forms. We live off of the response from the audience. We constantly are collaborating on stage when we're performing. And that's what the story was about how two incredible musicians had their own journey, but when they collaborated together, created a whole new swinging sound.
Yeah. I love that. I love that so much. And that's really true. Not only is it true for music, it's also true for writing, right? So same thing, like you sit in a room but then you have an illustrator and an editor, you have a critique group that comes together and helps you shape it and make it everything that it could be. Similar to a musician, you practice alone, but when you perform, even if you're performing alone, like there are musicians, there are sound people, there are other people involved in that performance, and it is very collaborative. And these collaborations with Louis and Ella are just some of the, I don't know, I can't listen to Louis Armstrong without smiling. Like I mean, I just
You
can't.
can feel him smiling.
It's amazing. And the two of them together just have such amazing chemistry that comes across, even though you're not looking at them, it just comes across in the music, and they're just so, so, so wonderful.
I have to
Um,
say, I love that you're calling him Lewis because I actually only learned that when I was researching this book and writing it, was that he did not prefer to be called Louis. And so I still have to correct myself when I say Ella Fitzgerald and Louis Armstrong. He was fine with it, but my research showed that he felt it was the French pronunciation, right, of Louis. And when he sings with Barbra Streisand in Hello, Dolly, he says, "Hello, Barbara." It's
yeah.
Lewis, Barbara, and she says, "Hello, Lewis." And that's when, to me, you can see he's kind of telling people, "I'm Lewis,
Right,
and
right,
this is
right.
me."
Yeah.
And but people know him as in both pronunciations, and I get that. But I love that you say Lewis, and I've really tried to lean into that too because that's what he wanted.
Yeah, and I only do that because we had an earlier conversation and you were sharing that with me in one of
Mhm.
our earlier, and I'm like,
Yep.
okay, I've got to make that shift. I want to honor, how he preferred to be called. Yeah. So, I mean, oh my goodness. So when you have a book like this, I mean, it's so full of music. Like, I mean, the whole thing is totally encompassed in music. But let's talk a little bit about where you see the music being most evident, or what do you want people to really notice about the music of this book?
So one of the things I talk about is, and I've talked about this before this book, even just as a teacher, is that as a music teacher, is that music is all around us. And if you really stop and listen, you can hear the rhythms of nature, you can hear the pitches of the traffic or the animals, and you can feel the beats and the pulse of really our planet. There's music and movement all around us. And so one of the ways in which I rooted the story was that Ella was dancing up in Harlem, and she's dancing along the train tracks of the subway train. And she later wanted to become a singer, and her music notes flew just like you hear all of the melodies flying around New York City. Um, and so, again, metaphorically, when you think about Lewis, he's down in New Orleans, and you hear the toot 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 of the steamboats coming in, which are similar to the trumpet that became his signature instrument. And so, parallels to just, yes, you can study an instrument, you can, excel in any craft you want, but if you just listen, you will hear that music is all around us in different ways.
Hmm. Yeah, I think too, like both of these performers were iconic for scat singing. And so I love that there's a lot of that. I see that throughout the illustrations, like the illustrator brought that in, and you brought that in with a lot of
Yes,
onomatopoeia. So it's
yes,
full of onomatopoeia that is also, kind of the foundation of scat singing. And both of them were just amazing scat singers and kind
yes.
of laid that foundation as well. Look at that.
This is one of my favorite spreads.
Love it.
And this is when they're throwing the notes. This is when they finally get to perform together. And when she's saying doo-bop, 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 he's throwing it back with his trumpet, and she's snapping, and he's tat-a-tat-a-tatting. And yeah, there's music all around us.
Yeah, that
And they
call,
love to play with it.
yeah, that call and response, that's like super
Yes,
fun when you're performing with people and you're just kind of vibing off of each other. And they did that so, I mean, I
they
think
did
that's
that
what
in
we
the
hear. Yeah.
yeah, and they did that in the recordings. If you really listen to it, like Cheek to Cheek is one of my all-time
I
favorite
love
recordings
that.
of the two of
Yeah.
them, and you'll hear him say, "Take it, Ella, swing it," and
Yeah.
she just changes the rhythm with her voice. And there's "Let's Call the Whole Thing Off,"
Hmm.
and there, and he sings and he plays, and she sings, but one of the things I want kiddos to realize when they're reading this is they didn't start out as her being a singer and him being a trumpet player. She wanted to be a dancer and he wanted to be a singer, and they pivoted because of life situations. And so sometimes shifting the perspective or trying something new is okay. And it
Right.
leads to even greater things. And that's another big message in this story.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And that was exactly so segueing into that next question. That's one of the things that I always try to ask is there anything that you really hope that grown-ups, so I think, picture books are made to be read to children, typically by adults. So, are there other things, or is there an even bigger message than that one, or do you think that is the big overarching message that you hope that parents and caregivers and teachers catch and make sure they share with the littles in their life? Is that the big thing for you, or is there something else?
I think there are, I mean, there's three big pieces. One is that collaboration piece, right? What we can accomplish when we work together, and how powerful that can be. That other one is what I just said about how incredible it can be when you just try something new. It might be scary. It might not be something you ever thought you could do, but that could lead to something extraordinary. Um, the third piece I really think is just seeing how music influences us in our daily lives. I mean, if you're a parent, you're a teacher, you're a child, your family, what role does music play in your daily life? Is it in the car? Is it in the shower? Is it, when you're happy, when you're sad? Are you inventing songs with your kiddos? Are there favorite bands you like to watch? Why is music so important to us? I think is that biggest question, and why it's enduring, and a language we all share, and something that's universal across cultures. And again, if you just listen, you can hear the beats and rhythms of music pulsating around us. But just to really think about that, why is music so important to us? I really, especially when we look at what's going on in schools and how that's always the first thing to get cut or doesn't have the biggest, excuse me, budget. When it means so much to us, what can we do to continue to preserve music, not just at home in our communities, but also in our schools?
Yeah, that's a great point. And a great reason to be advocates for music in our schools and music for our students, and to fight for the music teachers and the music programs to get
Yep.
the funding and to get the budget, and to get the kudos. I mean, I don't know about I don't know how things are in Chicago where you are, but I'm in North Carolina, rural North Carolina, and for us, it's all about sports, right? Like it's all about the baseball and the football, and like that gets all the money, that gets all the, all the
We have
accolades.
marching bands.
We do, but this is my point. Like we have great music programs, but they don't get the acknowledgement.
No.
It's all about the sports. And in fact, when I do programs every year, like I try to schedule away from sports times, because if I don't, the sports take precedence and they will not miss a practice to come and do a program that they're only going to get one chance to do. They will choose sports over music. And so I think that's a great point that should happen at home as well as in school, is that we value music as much as we value, because it is such a part of our life. I would say even probably more than sports for most of us, more part of our daily life.
Yes.
Maybe that's why we kind of take it for granted.
Sure.
But it deserves as much hoopla and as much credit and as much wonder as our sports, or whatever the thing in your community might be, that gets kind of that drowns out the music and the arts, the theater and the dance and all of that. Like the arts, I mean, I've been arguing for a while now that I think when we have things like COVID, or we have things like difficulties in the world, what do most people turn to? You know, most of us don't turn to sports or even physical activity, although we might should do more of that, and some people do that. But I think when we talk about mental health, it's music and it's dance that people turn to make
Yep.
themselves feel better when things are difficult and hard and challenging. And so for that reason, I think, it deserves equal footing. The physical activity is equally important, but also the music and the drama and the dance is also equally important, because those are the things that are going to help us get through those difficult times. When we talk about SEL, that social emotional learning, music is such a huge part of that.
Yeah, and the other piece is Ella and Lewis individually didn't have formal training from their childhood. So, Lewis was singing on the streets just to get money to help his family, and Ella was dancing because she loved it. She was in an orphanage. We don't know what their musical ability and talent sounded like then. Maybe it was extraordinary, maybe they were gifted. We don't know. But if you just take the time to express yourself in that way, look at what it could lead to. You don't know. And it's also they performed in community spaces, and so it was always a social experience. It was always about a shared music making experience. And I think that's the power of what music gives us that other art forms, sports, activities don't.
Right. Yeah, that community and that, like you said, that shared experience. Yeah, really spectacular.
I mean, even as a writer, Tani, we want people to read our books, but we don't always get to meet our readers.
Right.
Whereas when you're performing music live, you're right there with everybody who's
The
experiencing
same
it with you.
space.
And
Yeah.
that's something that is so magical that you might get that in theater or dance, but I
Right.
will tell you, having performed in all of these art forms, and there's something about being a musician where you do kind of riff off and build off the audience in a way that, even actors and dancers don't because of the nature of their craft. They can, and sometimes they do, but
Right.
being a musician is very much about the responsiveness of that live audience, and that's where is the shared experience of that. And where a better place to start with that than a parent and a child
Yeah. Well, and
making
I
music
think
together at home?
yeah, I think too, like I think about the programs that I do at my school, which oftentimes is the first time that now some of my girls, were dancers from the time they're, 3 or 4. But for many of my kids, this is the first time that they've performed in front of a live audience. And this is where kind of the rubber meets the road. And the next day is always so fun to talk to them because it's like, how did that feel being on
Yep.
stage and hearing that applause and they're either like you can see the ones that are going to go on and they're going to continue to pursue something where they're on the stage and they're getting that feedback from the audience because they're going to go, that was awesome. Like I loved hearing everybody, scream and shout and clap and or they'll say, I didn't like it, and those are the ones that this is not for them. But for some of these kids, it's their first opportunity and they love it. They love that feedback that they get. And that's so cool that we as music teachers get a chance to introduce that to them and give them those first opportunities.
It's priceless. And even as a professor and researcher, when I've talked to children and even professional musicians about the experiences they've had, it's that moment of being on stage and performing with an audience or performing even with other musicians.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
incredibly collaborative. And that's why in the beginning when publishers were like, we have enough stories about Ella Fitzgerald and Lewis, and I'm like, yes, but this isn't a story about Ella Fitzgerald and Lewis. This is a story about collaboration and
Right.
how important that is and how little we teach that in schools and how we need to know that working together is just as powerful as working alone.
Right. Right. Yeah, and this is a perfect example because Rekha and I have been working together so much to share each other's books and talents, and so there's so many ways that we can collaborate and support each other musically, as well as writers and as well as teachers. Those of you who are music teachers, reaching out to other music teachers around you, reaching out to other teachers in your school, team teaching. Collaboration looks a little different no matter where we are, but it's always a good thing. And I think it almost always results in a better product than we can do by ourselves and on our own.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, talk to us a little bit about, well, first off, let me just say, is there anything else you wanted to tell us about the book that I have not asked you? I want to give you that chance before I move to the last question.
No, it's a book of my heart this is a story that I have felt that I've loved, and I'm just grateful to Beach Lane for publishing it and can't wait for it to publish on October 14th. I'm so excited.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. So, talk to us a little bit about what's coming next for you. What do you have in the pipeline? What's happening right now that people can can, look forward to or go looking for, or where do you have like events that you're going to be at where people can find you? Give us all the scoop on all things Rekha.
All the scoop. Well, I do have a chapter book series at Scholastic that I love very much. It's called Disaster Squad, and it's not about music. It's about natural disasters and this fictional family that travels around the United States and helps communities. And so there's one about wildfires in California, hurricanes in Texas, blizzard in Minnesota, and then tornadoes in Oklahoma. And as the books have been coming out and as I've been doing school visits and I look at the news and see how many of these natural disasters are actually happening, I'm just, first of all, it's horrible to watch and hear families and communities being devastated. But the purpose of these books were really to teach how to be prepared and how to help. Having lived through wildfires in Northern California for many years and being raised in Chicago and having no idea what to do at all, these books are really a way to just empower children and their families. So that's a fun chapter book series I'm doing a lot of events for around the country. And I just had my latest picture book announced called Go, Go, Go. And it's about transportation all around the world. And it's a rhyming picture book, which I'm so excited about because I always love rhyming stories and we don't see enough of them. And I'm working with fabulous artists called Golden Cosmos. They're based out of Germany. And I speak German, so I haven't met them yet, but I'm very, very excited about the collaboration. And the book is going to be published in English, German, and Spanish
Oh,
at
wow.
the same time. Yes, the North-South publishers, I think they do that for most of their books, and that should be coming in 2027. And that was really an idea of like, again, Tanya and I were talking about traveling abroad. And most of the transportation books my kiddos had growing up were like, this is a construction site and this is a fire truck. And we have tuk-tuks in India and rickshaws. And, we just took a hot air balloon ride for the first time as a family. And there's just so many ways that we use transportation around the world
Yeah.
that hasn't really been highlighted. And so I'm thrilled for this to come out because it really is a journey across our planet. I mean, we're touching almost every continent, I think, and from dog sleds to seaplanes to cruise ships to everything that you can think of is going to be in here just to help us understand that we're all moving together constantly at the same time. We're all going somewhere. We're going somewhere. And the way you go to school might be different than the way I go to school, and the way
Right.
you get home from work might be different from the way I get home from work, but we're all still moving together.
Yeah.
So it's exciting. I'm excited for that.
That's awesome. What a great new book. That sounds super fun. And I think both of us can relate to that a lot right now with all the subways and elevated and buses and trains and ferries that we've done. We've just been talking about all of our fun travel experience and sometimes not so fun, but yeah, that's such a part of it, right? All those ways of moving and traveling. So,
Yes, and it can be exciting, it can be stressful, but we're all doing it every day in different
every
ways
day.
around the planet. So,
Right, right. And it's good for kids to know that there are lots of different ways and the way I mean, I think anytime we can open kids' eyes and give them a window into how other people do things, it just makes them, better citizens and more empathetic. I was just writing about that, how travel, makes us more empathetic. It gives
yeah,
us experiences that other people have on the regular that we don't,
yeah.
and we can put ourselves in those shoes for a short time, and then that creates empathy in us. And so I think that's a great way to create empathy, to say, not everybody rides a school bus. They may walk to school, or they may, ride the tuk-tuk, or they may, whatever. So it's good. It's good to broaden our horizons and broaden the horizons of our students and our children.
Yes, and I also, even with my own three kids, want them to have gratitude for the fact that they've been privileged enough to fly since they
Right.
were babies. And a lot of people have never been on an airplane and don't know what that's like. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think I'm excited about it. We've been going back and forth and editing, and it's a wide variety of forms of transportation, but we have land, sea, air, rails, all of it.
Nice.
So it'll be fun.
Nice. So you guys look forward to that one in 2027. And I think Rekha, are we doing a giveaway for this episode? Are we doing a copy of the book? Is that?
I'm happy to. I only have one, and my mom took it, but I took it back. And you know what was so great was that when I met Ken, we were able to sign each other's one copy.
Oh,
So
I love
thank you,
that.
Ken.
I love that. You know, as I think back, I
Get to
actually,
meet your illustrator. I'll tell you, Tanya, when you get to that point, it's just fabulous.
I cannot
And I
wait.
don't always get that opportunity. So, and he's just a
Right,
glorious individual. So thank you, Ken.
right. I think actually when I look back at your form, Rekha, let me look back. I think you had said that maybe um
I probably said I'll do all of it.
of a winner's choice. I think it might have been a winner's choice. Let me look and
Okay.
see. I've got it pulled up right here. There's yours. Let's see. For the giveaway, yes, winner's choice between either a copy of the book or a picture book critique or a virtual classroom visit.
Yes.
So, winner's choice. So, whoever wins, you can choose any of those three. And you can find all the details for that down below. Also, and all you have to do to enter that is just leave a comment on the blog itself. So, if you happen to be catching this interview on YouTube, make sure you follow the link in the description, go to the blog, and leave your comment there. So that we can be sure to count it and put you in the potential winners. So we want to do that. Also, if you want to purchase a copy of this book, that all that link will be below, as well as Rekha's socials and where you can find her online. All of that will be below. And as you know, I always, in fact, I've already yesterday, I was working on a Pinterest board and a YouTube playlist for this episode. And I gotta tell you, there's just so much amazing stuff out there. So just be sure to check out those links in the link section and the teacher tips and the music teacher tips. So all that's going to be below, as well as some writing prompts. Rake is going to share some tips, some of her best tips for getting your best writing for those of you who are writers. And of course, I'll share the writing prompts that'll be good for students as well as for your own writing. They're good for both. And whether you're a regular classroom teacher or a music teacher, those tips will be there for you as well. So check all that amazing stuff out. Be on the lookout for Rekha's Disaster Squad books, as well as her previous books. She's got some amazing board books that have musical connections. She's got Can You Dance Like a Peacock, which was so fun and wonderful. And then she's got these new books coming out as well. So be sure just to keep your eye on her space for all the good things that she is doing. And you can repay her for helping us out with all these amazing things by giving her some excellent reviews. If you enjoy her books, also just shouting them out on social media or by word of mouth. Share a book that you read of hers that you think would connect well with somebody else. Word of mouth is always one of the best ways to help an author. Those reviews are another way that don't cost you a dime, but I will say this book is beautiful. And if you are a fan of Ella or Lewis or jazz or scat or you're going to want the book. So just go ahead and bite the bullet and find a link and just go ahead and get it because it's beautiful and it's gorgeous and you are going to want it. I am going to want it. So I hope that you enjoy it. And thank you, Rekha, for being here once again and talking us through this beautiful book. Look at that.
Thank you. Thank you.
So gorgeous. And thank you guys for being here as well. And we hope you enjoy it. And we will see you next time on PBJamz.
Jamming PBs all the time. PB Jams. Songish books and bookish songs. Tips for music teachers.